Welcome back. Last week's explosive brawl online between U.S. President Donald Trump and Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla and a former White House advisor, caught many people by surprise as the two appeared to disagree over Trump's proposed tax bill. There are implications in that tax bill for electric vehicle subsidies. Let's talk about it and the effect on Tesla itself and the stock with Seth Goldstein. He's an equity strategist at Morningstar. Seth, thanks a lot for joining us. The bill as drafted and before the disagreement between the two men already included the wind down of electric vehicle subsidies earlier than they would otherwise be wound down. Is that a correct statement?
That's correct. The way the bill is currently drafted, it eliminates the $7,500 U.S. federal government subsidy at the end of 2025 versus what's currently set in laws for them to expire at the end of 2032. So that's a full 7 years earlier. And for automakers like Tesla and other U.S. automakers who have been planning their entire supply chains and product designs around qualifying for that subsidy, that's going to either mean that they need to lower their prices, which makes their vehicles less profitable, or they're going to need to try to rework to find alternate lower cost supplies to keep their vehicles profitable.
Okay, so for those of us who followed that exchange of social media postings on that day, one of them came from Donald Trump, and he threatened to eliminate the quote, contracts and subsidies that affect Tesla. Now, what exactly was Trump talking about there, and are those Tesla-specific measures?
Well, I think what Donald Trump was largely referring to was the SpaceX contracts. If you look at Elon Musk's, all of his businesses, the government exposure, SpaceX is really the large one where you could see the most potential blowback if Donald Trump were to pursue action against Elon Musk's businesses. Now, for Tesla, you could be looking at very nuanced policies, things like, you know, if you wanted to require all autonomous vehicles have a LiDAR system because Tesla's has a camera-only approach, that would exclude Tesla from that unless they rework their system to have a LiDAR. But I think that's a very nuanced and detailed policy that's unlikely to happen. I think instead they most likely want to reduce SpaceX's contracts if the two continue to feud. It seems like for now, the two have mended at least somewhat to form a more cordial relationship. Trump wished Elon well in an interview yesterday. So it seems like things are getting better and might have hit the low point last week, but it's a continuing story as long as the two will continue to, make statements in public about each other.
And SpaceX, of course, is not publicly traded as Tesla is. Okay, so a broader question: how significant is Elon Musk and perceptions of Elon Musk by the public and the investing public to Tesla stock, pro or con?
I think it's largely been a pro. You have to take a really long-term view here. And, Elon Musk over a decade ago was the first one to make electric vehicles cool and also functionally good enough for consumers to want to buy them, with longer range, by the build out of supercharging networks throughout the US and Europe and in China. And so, and a shorter recharge time. And this made EVs a lot more functionally appropriate for people to drive as a long-range car and really just to use as a daily driver as well. He also made them look cool, and now he's working on advanced technology with autonomous driving. So for Elon Musk, I think it's largely been a positive, and many shareholders who are in Tesla are in it for Elon. But with that comes with Elon's other business ventures, or wants to be included in other parts, like, say, being in the government, campaigning for politics. And that does create more brand risk and risks turning consumers away from Tesla. But if you look at it on the whole over a long-term period, I think it's largely been a positive, as he's been a visionary who's been able to make these dreams of long-range electric vehicles that are cool and hit the mass market. He made that come true. If you look at SpaceX, he made a rocket that can land itself, and that was thought to be impossible at one point to do. So, I think the market gives him a lot of credit for being a visionary and taking these new products and making them successful. And that's what the stock is pricing in if you're looking at new ventures such as the robotaxi or the Optimus humanoid robot.
Longer term, you think subsidies are more or less irrelevant to the electric vehicle market. You think the electric vehicle market will establish itself and grow in the absence, eventually, whenever, of subsidies, correct?
That's correct. Yes. If we look at, say, North America and Europe right now, these are two markets that are still in the early stages of EV adoption. And so subsidies are needed because EVs are more expensive. They're not quite at price parity with internal combustion engines if you look at a long range EV, which is what you need to have. You need to have at least 300 miles generally for consumers to consider buying an EV, because then they feel confident they can take a road trip in one. But once you have a EV reach cost parity or even be slightly cheaper on a total cost of ownership basis and price parity with the purchase price, then subsidies are no longer the major driver, because you're not asking consumers to pay up for an EV. You're just asking them to consider one paying the same price. And so we look at a market like China, where they removed federal subsidies a few years ago, and EV sales continue to grow. And that's because prices have come down, and with the same price point as an internal combustion engine, EVs have differentiated themselves and made the case to consumers that they can stand on their own without subsidies. And once that happens in the US and Canada, in Europe, we will see EV adoption that's not dependent on subsidies and more dependent on, do we have the adequate charging network? Does each EV itself make the case why consumers will want to buy it? Very similar to why consumers buy a different auto, one or another, today.